Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 176 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. This is your host, Jackson Mummy. Really glad to be with you. I've just finished a wonderful early Christmas with my family, my children, our grandchildren. I guess my wife had something to do with that. Yeah, so it's our children and our grandchildren, and we just had a great time. We got to see Mickey's Very Merry Christmas, and we got to do all kinds of cool stuff and be together as a family and have Christmas. And now I'm watching the commercials on TV for Christmas, and I'm like, dude, Christmas is over. So there you go. Anyway, we had a great time, and it was a wonderful opportunity. And thanks to all of you for your good wishes. I've heard from a number of you who wanted to know how it went. So there you go. We had a great time. There's nothing like a nearly 6-year-old, a nearly 4-year-old, and a nearly 22-year-old, as far as grandchildren, to really get a feeling for what the world is like. It was a blast, and we had a great time. So I hope everybody's holiday season, however you celebrate it, will be as wonderful as what we were able to do this year. Well, in the world of the bar exam, we've had one big piece of news in the last week that I want to talk about today, and that impacts the Florida bar. But we're also going to talk today, we did an interview right before I went on vacation with a successful Massachusetts bar taker by the name of Judy Cox. Now, Judy's story is really remarkable. As you'll hear, she took the bar, I think, 7 times and failed. The last time failing by only 1 point. And, there's nothing that's as painful as failing by a point. And Judy really was at that point of discouragement and kind of like, what do I do? And we talked about it, and we kind of reset ourselves, and we dived back in. And using the approach that we take, the sort of holistic approach to study, including photo reading, Judy powered her way through and passed the exam in July of 2017. And it's a great story, and I think you're really going to love to hear from her because she's got this sort of unbeatable spirit about her, as you can imagine. And, she really wanted to do something with her law degree beyond being a paralegal. And you're going to hear how she just kind of fired off and said, I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to find a better way to make this happen. Now, Massachusetts is an interesting jurisdiction because it's switching from its own state-specific exam to the UBE. And so Judy had to get through the test in its old iteration. I think actually it's going to be easier now as a UBE jurisdiction. And we're excited. We've got students studying for that test in July of 2018. So I think Judy's story is one that you're really going to respond to. And if you're interested at all in photo reading, I think you'll really like to hear what she says about the difference that made for her and her scores on every part of the exam. Well, before we jump into the interview with Judy, I did say that there was some big news with respect to the Florida exam, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. Just last week, the Florida Supreme Court, without much pre-announcement, just sort of dropped an order out that said that they had decided upon the petition of the deans of the law schools in Florida and the Florida bar examiners themselves to now make it possible for applicants to take a passing multi-state score, that means a score on the multi-state of 136 scaled or better, and to apply it to the Florida bar exam in a period of 25 months. So within 25 months of the time you took the MBE in another jurisdiction, you could apply that score to the Florida bar and waive out of the multi-state day of the Florida bar exam. Now, it's good news, but it shouldn't be misunderstood. And I did a full-length video explaining these changes, and we're going to link to that in these show notes. And by the way, you can find our show notes and this podcast a couple of different ways. I should have mentioned that. If you want to watch the video, you can go to celebrationbarreview.com/176. If you'd like to listen to our podcast, you can do that a bunch of different ways now. We're now on Spotify, we're in Apple iTunes, and we're in iHeartRadio and a bunch of other things. And you can also go to celebrationbarreview.com and click on the podcast link and find all of our episodes going back to episode number 1, along with show notes. So you've got a couple of different options for how to consume this material. But in any event, to come back to what was going on in Florida, This opportunity to take a passing score means that, let's say you passed a bar exam in another jurisdiction, or maybe you didn't pass, but you got better than a 136 scaled score on the multi-state. So maybe in California, for example, you got a 141 multi-state, but you still didn't pass California. You could take that multi-state score, apply it to Florida. It would be good for 25 months, so basically 2 years, after you've taken the exam, and you wouldn't have to sit for the multi-state again. All right, so that's good news. Now, here's what it doesn't do. You cannot waive into Florida. There's still no reciprocity. It doesn't matter whether you pass the bar in another jurisdiction or not. You still have to sit for the Florida part of the exam. In addition, if you took the Florida exam at an earlier date and had a passing Florida score, you can't use a passing multi-state score from a previous administration attached to a previous Florida score and waive in that way. So in other words, all the ways that you're thinking you can get in without having to take the exam won't work. There isn't a way. The only thing that this does is take away having to sit for the multi-state again in Florida. So one of the strategies that we're discussing, we had a lot of students taking the uniform bar exam over the last couple of years with great success. Some of whom had started in Florida, some of whom had thought about coming to Florida, but just didn't want to go through the whole hassle again. Well, we're encouraging our students to file with Florida, get that multi-state score on the record, and then it's a one-day test in Florida, and all you have to do is pass. I say all you have to do is get a 136 on the Florida day, which is made up of essays and Florida multiple choice, and then you're in Florida, which is a great opportunity and something I really would encourage people to think about. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, please contact us. Again, you can do that. You'll see the links to do that in the show notes. But we think it's a really good opportunity. If you've been thinking about Florida and you've taken the multi-state in the last 2 years, done better than a 136, here's your chance to jump right in. Now, there are a couple of other minor changes that the Supreme Court announced, and I'll leave those to that announcement and video that I made earlier. I hope everybody will check out that video and find out the details if you're interested in the Florida exam or think you might be interested in the Florida exam. But again, remember this, there is no way to use this rule and not have to take some part of the exam going forward. Okay, if you've got that, I think you understand the basics of the rule. Now, if you are taking the bar exam in 2018, I want to let you know about 2 special free live webinars that we've got coming up. It's called How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. It's the powerful, proven way to pass. We're going to be offering it on Thursday, December 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern. That would be 4 p.m. Pacific. And again on Monday, December 18th at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And to register, it's completely free. All you need to do is, if you're on this video page, just scroll down the page. There's a link. And if you're listening to this podcast, just go to celebrationbarreview.com. You'll see a button there to claim your seat. Now, during this webinar, we're going to be looking at the step-by-step approach to passing the bar that's been used by thousands of students. I'm going to share case studies with you. I'm going to show you exactly what we do. There's no hidden balls, no tricks. We're going to just lay it all out for you. We've had thousands of people go through this webinar, and it's changed lives. And I really encourage you to check it out. It's a great opportunity. We keep the class size small. There's plenty of interaction, and I really hope you'll join us for that. So again, Thursday, December 14th, Monday, December 18th. Now, if those 2 dates don't work for you, or if the time isn't right for you, you will see a third option, which is an on-demand version of the same material. It's a recording of a previous webinar that we did. It's the same material, same information, but obviously not done live and doesn't have the interactive capabilities. But I encourage you to check it out, and you can jump right on that and watch it right away. And that would be a great opportunity if Monday or Thursday at 7 Eastern does not work for you. And then the final thing I just want to let everybody know about is that on Saturday, we'll be on our Facebook page for Celebration Bar Review, doing a live Facebook Live video at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. During these videos, we do some interviews, we talk about the bar, some things that are coming up, just general information for about a half hour or so. Obviously, it's completely free. Just go to Celebration Bar Review, like our page. You can subscribe to these weekly Facebook Lives. They are Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, so I hope you'll join me there. All right. Whew. That's a lot of stuff to get through. I really want to share this interview with Judy Cox with you. If you're someone that's taken and failed the bar at any jurisdiction, And certainly if you're someone that's taken the exam and come close and not passed, you're really going to want to listen to what Judy did and the approach that she took. I think you're going to find it really encouraging and hopeful. So let's jump into our conversation with a passing bar taker, Judy Cox.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. We got a great story for you today. This is Judy Cox, and Judy has passed the Massachusetts bar exam. Hallelujah. How are you, Judy?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Jackson.
This has got to be just such an amazing time for you. Just before we went on, I asked you how many times you had taken the bar because I had actually kind of lost track. Go ahead. Why don't you share
So
that?
did I.
Yeah. Tell us
7 or 8 times, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very discouraging.
Yeah, that's very discouraging. But you passed in July 2017.
Yes.
And you passed with a few points to spare. I mean, you weren't just like right at the number. You went over the top on both essays and the MBE, right?
Yes, definitely. I got, we had to have a 270. I got a 273, which wasn't, way over, but anything that's over 270 is fine by me. So.
Right. And 270 is a really high score. I mean, if you compare that to New York or New Jersey or DC on the UBE, they're 266. So yeah. It's a tougher exam for sure because, it's Massachusetts, and why wouldn't it be? So I don't know. And if you start in on the Patriots, so help me God. All right.
Oh, I won't.
Okay, thank you. So let's back up a bit. And why don't you tell our audience a bit about your background and what led you into taking the bar exam and kind of what that journey's been like a bit for you over the past few years.
Okay. Well, I started my journey late in life. I started in my mid-30s for getting my paralegal associates and then my bachelor's. And I've been a paralegal mostly for solo practitioners for 30 years, a little over actually. And I had gotten to the point where I felt like I had gone as far as I could go being a paralegal, and I wanted to go further. So the next logical steps, law school. And so I started law school in 2010. And by that time I was in my, I was 50. So, it was kind of like, oh my God, you're going to law school at 50. So, yeah, but I did and, enjoyed it. And then, so when I got out of law school and was going to take, my first bar, I felt so confident, and I answered all the questions and, all the essays with a little bit of time to spare. None of them really hit me hard. And so I was feeling kind of confident until I got the results. And, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And at that point I had started with Kaplan. I went with Kaplan for that time and the next time. And, the next time was even, it went down. And I think I went down pretty much when I started using the Celebration Bar Review. I was down 23 points. Okay. And it was awful.
Right. So you've been through 4, maybe 5 tries at that point.
Yes.
And did you take any time off or did you just go exam to exam?
No, I went exam to exam. I used Kaplan to start with, then I incorporated some of the Barbary books as well. And then I went with another private tutor because I had gone back to the school to ask, what am I doing wrong? And I had someone that told me, oh, well, they tell you to answer like thousands of MBE questions, but that's not really where the score is going to be. That's going to be in your essay. And I'm like, okay. So I ended up going with another private tutor, and that I came up a little bit, but again, nothing. So like I said, when I started with Celebration, I was down 23 points, and I just didn't know what else I was going to do.
I think a question that people might ask is, why didn't you give up at that point? Why did you stay at it?
I don't give up. And by that time
this
it was
true, folks. She does not give up.
I don't. By that time it was like, I am not letting some test beat me. It's not happening. So, and then when I got to 1 point away, I was really mad. So it was really not going to
let's talk about the 1 point away, because you came to us, you studied, and you came up 1 point short.
Yes.
And that was a hard call. I remember that call.
Yeah,
You remember it?
I do. That was really, really hard. Oh my God. I mean, you're not only dealing with your own disappointment, you're dealing with everybody else's disappointment who knew you took it. So it's kind of like, oh my God. And having to tell them again is like, I was so mad. I was so disappointed and so frustrated. It was like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
But
you said an interesting thing in that call. I don't know if you remember it or not, Judy, but you said, I'm going to grieve this for a short period of time, and then I'm just going to get back at it. I'm just
yeah.
not going to give up. Can you talk
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit about that?
Well, to me, it's like I had come so far and I knew I could do it. It's like, there's just no way. I mean, over my 30 years of experience, it's like I researched the law. I, did briefs and motions and this, that, and the other. I knew the law. It was just a matter of how do I get it? I mean, I would go from raising my MBE score and my essay would go down, or I'd raise my essay and my MBE score would go down. It was a matter of getting them together. And you helped me with that. I remember that conversation. But it's just like, you just, at that point, it's like, no, there's just no way. I am so close. And if I can bring it up 22 points, I sure as heck can bring it up at least 2 to get past that, that lip. So there was just, no.
Yeah. And I thought at that point that, your sort of grit and determination was going to be enough to carry you through. But I also love the fact that you were willing to say, you know what, let's just do what we've got to do. Let's make it happen. Let's find
Yeah.
the tools. And one of the tools that we embarked on was photo reading, right?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah,
talk
yes.
a little bit about photo reading and what that is and how it worked for you?
Well, photo readings are basically you're looking at the whole page or the whole 2 pages of the book, and you're not really focusing on any specific word. You're just kind of keeping it all in your vision, and you're flipping through the pages very regularly, and you're just kind of counting it out, as it were. And you can read it frontwards or backwards, or I would also go upside down. But I did have, when you're first starting photo reading, it's really difficult to trust it because it's like, how is this helping me? I'm not really looking at anything. It's just like, I'm not really seeing these words as they're going by. How is this helping me? But, I stayed true to it, and, I kept the belief and I kept doing it. And so whether it was flashcards or the books or my notes or, the tests themselves and the answers, I would photo read everything. So, but it's just a matter of, you've got to believe and keep trying it and keep using it as much as possible. Anytime you read anything, photo read it first.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, things that you're stuck with or you're stuck on in your studies, write them down and ask a question about it, and then go back and kind of do the tipping and skimming through, because you will find the answer. It'll come, but you have to trust in the process, and you have
Yeah.
to use the process.
Yeah. And that trusting the process is a big deal because, I mean, as many times as you had banged your head against the bar exam wall, you were right to be skeptical. I mean, what is this going to do? And yet, one of the things that was so wonderful is that you just said, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't understand how it works. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm willing to try it, and I'll keep
Yes.
doing it, and I'll keep pursuing it. And you could kind of sense, there were some moments where you got really frustrated because your practice scores were not great, right? You
Right.
were doing multi-states, and they weren't great. And what did that feel like to you at that point? I mean, photo reading, like practice scores aren't looking fabulous. What do I do?
I mean, you're frustrating. It's frustrating, and you're kind of like, well, I must be doing something wrong, or this isn't working for me. What do I need to do different? But I just kept the course. I kind of let the frustration come, let it go away, and then just got back into it, and just kept using the process and trusting in the process. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, this is cool. I remember one of the tests, that was toward the end, and it was I think it was the 99 test. It's supposed to be the harder one. So, and I know in the study schedules it says, expect your score to go down. And the last time I had taken it, my score went up. So I sent you a message of, well, what does that mean if my score goes up and I'm supposed to expect it to go down? And you had a little sarcastic thing that, but it was kind of like, that was a moment where I'm like, it's working. This is great. So I kept going and using that.
Yeah. And so when you went to the exam, what was your confidence level like in July going to the exam?
It was fairly high. I mean, I tried not to get too confident because I had been there before. And I mean, I didn't have trouble with the test for the most part. Any of the times I've taken them, I finished all the questions. None of them really hit me up. Oh my God, what is it? So I tried to kind of keep my confidence to not, I don't want to say to a minimum, but to a reasonable level, because you always know that you may feel great about this test, but you're going to come out of it and something's going to go wrong. So I tried to be reasonable in my confidence level, and just kind of take it as it was each day, each section, the morning section, just do it, just go into it, and then let it go when I walk out. Same thing, with the afternoon sessions. Go in, clean slate, start fresh, let it go when you leave. I know there are people that would have trouble in the first and the entire break. They're just breaking down because now they're still worried about it. But it's kind of like I have to leave it there because now I don't want it to affect what I'm doing in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I've got to get it out and let it go. And that's how I just kind of approached it. It was like I just went in and been confident that I've done everything I can do. And I stayed true to it, and I used it every day, and I practiced it, and reread it, and photo read it, and sitting in the parking lot before the test, I photo read everything.
Yeah, right. And how many times would you say you photo read an outline on average before you were studying?
I would say at least 2 times a day. Sometimes more, depending on my confidence level with the material.
Okay.
But usually I'd say on average at least 2 times a day.
So
5,
maybe you,
6
yeah,
days a week.
yeah. So you probably photo read each outline 20, 30 times at least, right?
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
And once you kind of get into that flow, that's just what you're doing, right? You're photo reading, you're activating, you're doing
Yes,
question practice.
definitely.
Okay. Now, you were working while you were studying still, right?
Yes, I was working full time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how many hours a week did you study leading up to the July exam?
I studied at least 3 to 4 hours every day.
Yeah.
I think I took one day off just to veg for that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually at least 3 to 4 hours a day.
Yeah. What was that like for your family? You've been through this for so long, so many frustrations, so many disappointments. You're working, you're studying.
Oh
There's a
yeah.
toll on the family, isn't there, when you do that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then you get the results and it's like, oh, really? I'm going to do this again. So yeah, it's very difficult. I had wonderful support with the family. But it's difficult. You spend all your time studying and, or, well, we're going to go this way. Can you go? Or do you have to study? Well, yeah, I have to study, type thing. But one thing with you guys, with the Celebration Bar, it's not like I'm putting in 8, 12 hours a day studying. 4 hours. I cut it off at 4 hours, So whether that was, during the daytime when, things were slow at work, and then, a couple hours at night, that's the way I did it. So I could still spend, maybe an hour or two quality time with the hubby, but for the most part I was studying, and it was very difficult because we like to do stuff together and can't do it. I'm studying,
Yeah.
or wait until the afternoon, or tonight, and maybe we'll do something. But for the most part it's really difficult. But he was really great, and my family was really great, with the constant support. Even when I got the results that they weren't passing, it was just like,
Yeah, that makes a big difference, doesn't it, when you get that
it
support from
does.
your family?
It does. It does. My boss was great with it too, so that helped too.
Well, so I think one question people might have is, look, there's a lot of hardship here. There's a lot of challenge, and you're working through all this. You've got a good job. Why? I mean, why do you want to be a member of the bar? Right? I mean, can you answer that?
I've always loved law. I've always loved and respected the system, and I'm a great believer that it works as long as everybody else that is involved in the system does their job. And I got to the point where there wasn't anything really else I could do productively toward supporting that system as a paralegal. And, I did, as my paralegal job over these 30 years, I basically did everything except argue the cases in court. Even though I was in court with my attorney or whatever. So, that was just the next logical step. And I just, as corny as it may sound, I feel like I can do something, to help. I can do something to support the system to make sure it works right. And that's one way to do it. I'm too old to sit there and be, have a boss. I want to be able to set my own hours and take the clients that I want to take and work until I don't want to work anymore, So that's another reason. And law is one of those that, I can, if I own my own office, I can set my hours and say who I can represent. And,
Yeah. When I talk to students who pass, one of the comments I get a lot is, I have my life back.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way to you?
It does. It does. I mean, I know for the first probably week or two after I got the results, it was like, oh my God, I should be studying, right? And they're like, oh no, I don't have to study anymore. It's like, okay. So, I mean, they asked me so things have changed, right? And I'm like, well, yes, but no. I mean, yes, I don't have to study anymore. And yes, I don't have to pay the bar fees anymore. And I don't have to go through taking the test. But, it's still early days. So I just got sworn in last Tuesday. So I'm still in the process of getting everything organized and stuff for that office. So, I'm still working with my boss in the same office. So yes, it's changed. Everything has changed, but in a way, it's still kind of the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about what it was like going into the bar exam this time. You're going back for multiple times. You're coming in. You've got photo reading. You've been doing some different things. You've come really close. I mean, one point is just excruciating. What was your mindset going into the exam in July?
My mindset was, I'm not taking this again. It's like, this is it. I'm going to pass it this time because I'm not taking this again. Especially at that time, because at that time, it was originally that Mass was going to start doing the UBE starting in February. I'm like, I am not doing the UBE. So I was passing it this time. That was just, there was no question. I just couldn't do it. So, that's the way I went into it. It's
and
like,
then, of course, in typical Mass style, they said, we're going to push that back to July.
Yeah, we're going to push it back to July.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I think you're past the tougher test, to be honest. But okay. So you go through the test. And now there's a fairly long waiting period afterwards, which you've been through before.
Oh, yes.
What's the waiting like for you?
Not as hard for the first couple of months because it's down the road. So you're able to just kind of push it aside and kind of put it there back in the little corner somewhere for the couple of months. Now, when October rolls around, now you're starting, okay, it's coming out soon. It's coming out soon. And then you get the email from the bar examiner saying, okay, results are going to be out on this day. Now it's kind of like, oh my God, type thing. So, the last week or so is when the nerves start kicking in, the butterflies, I'm going to be sick, and then you get the email and you're just like, do I want to open it? So it's,
so tell us, did you open the email or did you have somebody else do it for you?
Well, no, I opened it. I had a friend of mine who also took it. And we had talked about, after we knew when it was going to be, the email was coming out. And she said, well, I'm not going to open it that day. I want to wait until the night because it'll come out like first thing in the morning. I'm going to wait until that night because I've got court something. And I don't want to be thinking about it all day. It's like, okay. So I was going to wait until that night too. I get a text from her telling me that she hadn't passed, that she had missed it by 3. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I thought you weren't going to open it until tonight. Oh my God. Okay. I'll check my email. And naturally it was like the second email from the top. So I opened it. I didn't have a choice. I was the only one there. I was at work. And so I opened it really hesitantly because I was like, oh my God, my stomach just kind of went when I saw that it was there. But, and then it was kind of like, oh my God. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like, I don't know. So it was such an amazing feeling. But, it's like, you don't know what to do with yourself. It's like, what do I do now? I literally reread the email like 3 or 4 different times during the day to make sure I hadn't misread it. I really did. I was like, no, I didn't misread it. Okay, good. So,
that's awesome. Now, and that's such a wonderful story. During the time that you were studying, you took this time through. You were in the basic coaching, but you had done some personal coaching before. But in the basic coaching, you participated in our group coaching calls through the Facebook group, right? You were working with Kelly. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you've been a really not only one of the great things about our course, I think, is that we have these coaching calls and Facebook group. But then when people pass the bar, many of them, like you, have stayed in the group to offer encouragement and advice and suggestions. And you've been really wonderful, just even since the results came out. But can you talk about what it was like to be a student in that group and what difference it made for you?
I felt really comfortable in it because you have people who are in your similar situation. They've taken it multiple times, or they're having difficulty in this one section, or or they're having difficulty combining working full time and studying. So it really helps know that you're not alone. Everything that you think you're going through, somebody else is going through too. And it helps kind of, bouncing ideas off each other of, well, this is how I kind of make it work. And that's really helpful, not only just the camaraderie of I'm not alone, but it gives you some ideas and techniques of how they do it and are able to make it work and fit it with what they need to. And that's great.
Yeah. And we really appreciate the fact that you've been so gracious to give your time and thoughts to existing, current students. It's kind of weird, isn't it? You flip the script and you're like,
I know, but hey, we got to support each other,
That's right.
It's
Great. It's a very supportive community, which I love.
It is.
Well, let me just ask, what made you choose Celebration Bar Review? I mean, you've looked at you've done Kaplan, had some bar review materials, you've used another private tutor. What was it about our course that stood out to you that made it appear like something that you wanted to try?
Liked the hands-on, as it were. I know with Kaplan and Barbary, it's kind of like you're sitting in a room and you're watching the video and filling in the blanks. You're getting different people telling you how to do your essay, and they're contradicting each other, but there's no really contact. Even with the private tutor that I went through before you guys, when we would have our meetings, it was like 5 minutes long. It was like, how you doing? Any problems? Okay, we'll talk to you later. So I really like the hands-on that you guys offered, as well as the support and the little I'm drawing a blank. You post the sayings and
the inspirational memes.
Thank you. Yes, those ones. I love that. I would find see something that would just hit me.
Shout out to my staff that's really good at doing those.
Those are great. I love those.
Skill at all. Okay, yeah, they're great.
Those are great. I mean, one of them would hit me or something, or more of them, and I'd print them out and I'd put them on my bathroom mirror so I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
So that really helped, and I liked the process that you guys go through, and the fact of, no, you only study this amount of time, because anything else is just too much. You're not going to retain it, this, that, and the other. So it's kind of was a combination of a lot of stuff, but I really appreciated it, and I really liked that format.
Right. And if somebody asked you whether or not they should use photo reading as part of their studies, what would you say to them?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It does take a little bit of time to get used to it and to get comfortable with it. And then it takes more time to trust the process of it. But definitely.
Cool. Well, I know that there are going to be people watching who are in a similar position where whatever jurisdiction, whether it's Massachusetts or UBE or another state, have taken the exam multiple times and they're just discouraged. What would you say to them at this point? What, if you were talking back to past you, now on this side of it, what would you say?
Have to make sure it's what you want. If this is, if being an attorney for whatever reason is what you want to do, you've got to keep pushing forward. It will come. It's a matter of, they say it's all in God's time. It's all in God's time. It may not be yours, but it'll be there. You just have to keep pushing yourself, keep going through the process, and keep trying. You can't give up, because if you give up and this is something that you really want to do and you give up, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Yeah. So just keep trying. Just believe that it will be there when it's time for it to be there.
Well, I can't add anything to that. I think that's awesome. I am so proud of you, Judy. I know that this has been a really tough, long struggle for you, but the end result, the opportunity to be a member of the bar, to be sworn in last week, to start your own practice in your own life, to get all of those opportunities. I think it's safe to say that, you may have started later than a lot of people, but you didn't start too late, and you still got a lot of opportunities to make a difference, right? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And I couldn't have done it without you guys. I really couldn't have. I think.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's why we do what we do. And, there's no happier moment for me than hearing somebody's past and then getting to do these conversations. I know you've seen some of these interviews we've done with other people.
Yes.
Did you ever picture what it would be like when you did your interview?
I really didn't. I guess because to me that was still out there. I was like, I had to pass the bar first. So that was my main focus. That's step one.
And now you've done it. So there you go.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I know it's going to inspire a lot of people. It's going to encourage a lot of folks. And, we really wish you the very best. Thanks for sticking around and being in our Facebook group and supporting our current students. That means a lot to me, and I know it means a great deal to them. And I'm excited to see what happens for you. I just think, the people that persevere, I say this often, but they're the people I'd want as my attorney. I really want somebody that's going to stick with it. Yeah, I want stubborn. I want, I'm going to do it no matter what. And I think you really personify that. And I'm so glad you didn't give up when you came so close, that you stuck with it. You hung in there, and you shot through the passing score. And that's a great score that you got. That would have qualified you under the UBE terms for virtually every jurisdiction in the country. So it's not like you just sneaked in, okay? And I am very, very proud of you. So I want to thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group. And to all of our audience, I want to thank you guys for watching, such loyal listeners and followers of this series. And we'll be back again soon with another interview. Thanks. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Jackson.
You enjoyed that conversation with Judy. Somebody wrote to me the other day and said that they'd been watching a lot of these interviews I did, and they said, it's really obvious to me how much, my investment, Jackson's investment, in the student is, and how much I care about them. And that was really a nice thing to say, but it's really true. And I think, when you see an interview like this interview with Judy, it's just heartbreaking when you realize how close she came and what happened, but also incredibly encouraging, isn't it, to see what she was able to do and just the hopefulness and the opportunities in front of her. And really, that's what we wish for everyone that comes across our path. This is why we do what we do. It's why we offer these podcasts and webinars and why we teach the bar review. We want to give people their lives back, just like Judy got hers back, and we would like that for you as well. So again, if you're taking the bar in 2018, please join us on Thursday night, December 14th, or Monday night, December 18th, for our webinar, How to Make the Next Bar Exam the Last Bar Exam. All you got to do is click and register. It's completely free, and we'll see you on the webinar and show you how you can be the next successful bar exam taker. So with that, we're going to sign off. We'll see you soon, hopefully on the webinar or Saturday on our Facebook Live, and certainly next week back here on The Extra Mile. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.